Good evening, travelers of the night. Welcome back to The Stranger, where the immersion of an audio drama meets the chaos and uncertainty that is Dungeons & Dragons. Today we're joined by Shane as Trevor.
A buff and swole lost soul who's trapped in a hole, help!
Matt as Inquisitor Nylus von Stonen.
Now I can say greetings. But wait, isn't that like how I always say it? But no, because unusual, like a Dutch person who's always below sea level, now the players are below sea level as well in character. So it's not just the greetings, but it's a greetings with multiple layers.
Do you possibly have a shorter version by any chance?
What did that mean?
We'll come back to you. Asteria as Dr. Glass.
Though she's had the odd complaint, on the whole, she's been a saint to those poor, unfortunate souls.
And Ari as Esperanza. We don't own the copyright to that. Let me just check. Nope, still don't own the copyright to that.
How much longer till public domain?
It's Disney. Long time.
Ari as Esperanza.
This muscle wizard is getting ready to cast Fist on this mountain.
I haven't even seduced him yet.
And Matt as Inquisitor Nylus von Stonen.
Hello.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Perfect. So without further ado, let's begin. Trevor, as the falling boulders from the ceiling impact you, you fall to the ground. And as your body hits the ground, the reality beneath you is shifted, morphed into a vast ocean. In the distance behind you, as you weren't hit that hard, but as you stand up, you see you're standing on this ocean, Port Hillcrest, not all too far. And not sinking, but as you look up, towering over you, is a thick white fog. The saturation that's veiled the world beyond. You know by now that whatever has come with this new saturation, it's different. Magic doesn't pierce it. Nothing does. Even the people of old, in those recordings you heard, told of their messaging spells being halted by this mist. And the silence around you, it's profound. Save for the voice that pierces from the other side of the mist. A voice achingly familiar, yet tinged with a darkness that sends a shiver down your spine. Sweet and tainted like honey, you hear. Trevor, my love, it's me, Freya.
A long sigh. Half of comfort from something he hasn't heard in years. Half from exhaustion, not just physical exhaustion, emotional. He looks out into the fog, into the salty obfuscations, and he's going to take a few steps forward. He's in an unfamiliar place, but the unfamiliar is painfully common at this point. So he just, almost under his breath, but enough that it's audible, says, Who's there? Where am I?
You hear your voice trail off into the distance, a faint reverberation echo, the ocean beneath your feet, shifting and moving as if whispering truths of old, of bargains best made to rest. Trevor, as you stand at this precipice, you feel the shiver in this voice. It's not Freya. You might know who it is. You hear, "Trevor, dear, pull me through, let me in."
A scowl crosses his face, and he looks out into the beyond. I don't know. I don't know at all. And I'm so sick and tired of not knowing. What's out there? I might know. Maybe I don't want to know. But you're gonna show who you are. Right now, I'm done.
There's a slam against the mist, as if somebody just took a cosmic-sized fist and slammed it against the mist like rapping on a door. And you hear, "Trevor, so close to the precipice you came, didn't you? Yet you cling to threads of life. Ow."
And then the light illuminates in Trevor's mind, and suddenly what was so amorphous, so ephemeral, is suddenly, it has a shape, it has a voice, it has wants. The unknowable becomes knowable for one brief moment. You're angry. My time.
I felt the sweet, succulent approach of your end, culmination of the curse that binds us. Your soul was to join your heart as jewelry in my collection.
My time was supposed to be up, and it ain't. You don't know what to do about them. He looks around in the fog and goes, "What do you want? Why are you here?"
You think you found the one and only safe place from me, Trevor. I hear you mocking me. And just know, every moment you borrow from fate only sweetens my inevitable victory.
Well, ain't like I'm difficult to find. You got a little piece of me, don't you? And when I'm gone, you'll get your rest. That was the deal we struck? No, that weren't the deal we struck. That's the deal you struck for me. So if you want me, you know exactly where to find me. Come get it if you want it so bad.
Find you I will. I'm coming, Trevor. And you hear that cosmic fist wrap the wall of the saturation one more time as all of the waves around you reverberate as you're shaken awake. But before you wake up, somewhere else, Nylus, as you dive into the cave, as the rocks crumble above you, sometimes you just get lucky. And what's fallen on you is a mound of clay, which in a place like this isn't uncommon. Salt and clay intermixed. It's heavy, but soft enough to not break anything. And you are able to put your hand on it and push your way out of this wedge, freeing yourself from this object. And you hear... Nylus.
Wait, really? Now, Mordecai? As he tries to get himself into a more comfortable position?
You're in great danger.
Well...
Nylus.
Well, I don't feel the best after a bunch of rocks tumbled upon me. But please do help me. What is this fair one warning you have for me, Mordecai? Who is it that I'm supposed to be afraid of?
As you lift the skull to look into it, you see you feel it's in this moment much heavier. It's carrying something heavy within it at this moment. And you hear...
I want to help.
Because you understand that if I were to fall, so would the skull, so would your home at the moment. I understand that. Please do tell. As he tries to get some clay off him in the meantime.
The feeling you get from this skull is not a kind one, but I think you've ventured that far. It's dark, insidious, powerful, and the ground, the rocks, the soil, the salt rumbles at your feet, and you see as a skeletal hand grabs a pile of dirt and pushes it to the side as another hand emerges as it begins rising. A miner of old from the ground. You hear...
Nylus, you will accept me fully.
Look, if I am to be your chosen, as you have so reluctantly chosen me to ask to be two ground rules, I'm still to be in control. I have chosen to accept you. We can build something together. I truly believe that. Give me something to latch onto. A truth, a trust, a comfort.
You seek comfort from me.
I seek an understanding, shared knowledge. You say I'm in danger. Came to me, share your knowledge. Why? Is there some spirit that haunts this place? What do you know?
Understand. I am your danger.
As Esper, having come to hearing a ringing in your ears, being battered and bruised, you see 4 skeletal miners raising themselves from the ground. You see Trevor just starting to come to beside you.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hard, patting the body next to me somewhere on the thigh. Wake up.
I'm up. Hold on. Sitting up, just... Oh. And I was having the best dream.
A pickaxe is dragged through the mud and raised by one of them. They surround you.
Sword drawn, standing a little in front of Trevor so he has time to be able to get up. Don't do it. Don't do it.
You good, darling? Sound mind, sound body?
Just get your head straight.
He's gonna slowly get up to his feet. Slowly bring up his hands. He's ready for action.
Dr. Glass. In the distance, as that ephemeral visage of yourself turns the corner, a hand protrudes from the earth in front of you, and one behind you. A rock, a boulder, pins you to the ground. It's laying on your leg, and you would need to free yourself from it. It would take an athletics check. You see as these skeletons, they begin assembling themselves, as one, having come from the ground, stumbles to the side, finding one of its arms, pulling that from the soil and attaching it to its body.
Can my telekinesis help move the rock?
Well, typically, that would be too difficult, but I think in this moment, in the fight or flight that is the adrenaline rush, being pinned to the ground with enemies starting to surround, you can roll your athletics check with advantage.
And since I have 3 levels of exhaustion, that would mean straight. So just a straight -2.
Cool.
The DC on this is going to be 15.
It was a 16 on the die. So it's a 14.
Oh. The adrenaline. You're pushing. You're pushing as hard as you can. You're trying to push to free your leg, and all you feel is shooting excruciating pain. You make some wiggle room, but not nearly enough, as the skeleton's now being fully formed. I need everybody to roll initiative. Dr. Glass, you are pinned prone.
I should have just gone after the skeletons with something else, and being free was not going to help me much anyway.
Dr. Glass's life alert bracelet just starts going off.
Not the life alert.
I forget if exhaustion affects initiative.
I believe it is an ability check.
It does.
Thank you for reminding me. Now I have to do that.
Oh shit, I do too.
I think everyone, right?
Oh, well, it's not a nat 20.
So instead of a 19, 7.
Trevor.
That's also a 7.
Esper.
That's also a 7.
12. With disadvantage.
Trevor and Esper. The skeletons make one belabored, heavy step towards you. Dr. Glass, you as well. They take one step, shaking the earth beneath them as they approach. And Nylus, the skeletons that raised near you, they kneel and they bow their heads to the ground before you as you hear,
Accept me, Nylus.
We have a deal, Mordecai. This is a trade. I accept you. You in return teach me, share knowledge. Need you for a goal.
roll persuasion with a DC of 22.
Boy.
What's his charisma modifier, by the by?
I think it's a -2.
-1. That's a good old 2.
No deals, Nylus.
And the skull, it rips from your hand and begins floating before you. And you hear,
Kneel and abandon your god.
I gave up my Inquisition. I gave up years of studying. I gave up part of who I am. I accepted you've asked before. I shall kneel. Look at me. I'm on the floor now. Are you happy? Look can do this. Together, we can build something great.
As you kneel, the skull, it lowers to the ground before you, at your head, just in front of you. And you hear...
Nylus grasps the skulls and bows.
Trevor and Esper. The skeletons, they take 1 step, 2 steps. They raise their pickaxes. They get ever so close. So much so, as you, back to back, get ready to fight for your life. In that last moment, they clatter to the ground, just piles of bones. Dr. Glass, you see as those approaching you, they disintegrate.
Oh dear.
Oh, God's damn. Must have scared him off.
Was he the? I don't know where the other two are. We gotta go. We gotta find them. We had just run into a tunnel, right?
Before you, Esper, is one tunnel that goes off into the darkness. There are branches, and they could go on for miles.
But is the way back still clear?
The way back is where the rocks crumbled, blocking you in on your individual path.
All right, I admit that, that cave-in might have knocked me a little loopy, so, what, we just gonna do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, or just figure it out?
Something that I used to do this in the hospital when I was being a little less behaved. You pick a side and you always stick to it. That way you know how to get back to where you were.
Right. That's genius. Okay.
If anyone can hear me, I'm underneath a rock.
There's an echo into the distance. These tunnels could lead anywhere. Some might lead back to you, but the way you came from is blocked, and sound doesn't penetrate so easily.
But we heard the echo.
You did not hear the echo. I apologize, but you are separated.
Nope, that's okay.
Okay. Lead the way then. If you feel up to misbehaving again.
Sure.
I got your 6.
All right. She reaches their hands up, and the goggles, little click. And there's a soft glow for a moment, but then they dim again, and Esper can see in the dark now for a little bit. We're gonna left wall strat this.
There's a spot in these illuminated vision that the goggles provide for you. A small blip of a shadow cast on one of the walls nearby.
Just a shadow?
It's ever so small. It's only noticeable in this darkness when you wear the goggles.
I'm gonna take a moment to approach it.
As you cast it your attention, it grows. You know this shadow.
Hello?
It walks away from you.
Hey. Following.
Hey, what'd you see? As he starts to follow behind her.
I know it. It's helped me before, and I hope that's what it's doing now. Just follow.
You seen this more than once? Whatever. Never mind. I'm coming.
The shadow's pace picks up. It's almost at a run. And I suppose so do you, running to keep up with it. It doesn't follow the one wall. It goes somewhere else. Now I want you to know that before you decide to follow it, in case that would change your mind.
While Esper in general is not fully accepting of this shadow, Esper can recognize that the shadow has helped them before. Left while Strat abandoned.
And so you follow it, running from corridor to corridor on various turns along the way. As Dr. Glass, you're still pinned beneath this boulder. What would you like to do?
I mean, I suppose she could try again to shove the boulder off now that she's not distracted by impending skeleton. But I think her first instinct would be to listen. She is going to cast detect thoughts to enhance the sort of psychic openness and feel if there is anyone nearby.
You hear for a moment the sound of your own voice. It echoes and reverberates until it gets louder and louder like a screech, until you have to sever detect thoughts. Because it got so unbearable for a moment. You feel a presence, but it's not the same way you feel a living person. Perhaps an uneasy feeling, similar to when you last saw that miner walk off into the distance.
And she saw, she thinks, herself right before all of this.
In fact, you're certain of it.
And she is trying to find some hint that this is maybe not literally herself, but maybe something, reading her mind and taking her form. But it makes so much sense that it would be herself after they were all in the void together, and hers was the only soul missing. But she doesn't know why she would do this.
It would take some effort and some time, but if you could just roll me an athletics check to free yourself from the boulder in the meantime.
Straight again because of telekinesis, or?
Yes.
No, that's an 8.
You feel an incredible amount of pain as you free your leg. You push as hard as you can, and with an 8, I need you to take 10 points of bludgeoning damage. You scream, and your screams, they echo through these corridors as you feel your leg coming out.
Can I cast a bonus action healing word on myself?
You can, and you're free. We're out of initiative order.
So instead of at 8 HP, I am at 15.
You feel some of the bone rejoin. It's a discomforting feeling. It's like you're being reset, and even then, it still hurts.
If I may, feel free to veto this. I think I'm also going to get out my healer's kit and try to use it on myself, since you kind of need a leg, and I already have leg troubles.
You don't have to have terribly strong insight to see that you're just very hurt. Even if you heal yourself, given the cracked, damaged bones that will take time to heal, even with magic, you can pull your leg out and use it. But are you comfortable? I mean, no, of course not. You're terribly hurt.
It looks physical and it's bone, so she's going to splint it. Mm-hmm. And she's got some topical analgesic, like some arnica, that will numb it. As a short-term thing, so that, she'll be leaning more heavily on her cane, obviously, but she can power through a little bit better. I think she's got some stuff that she puts on her curse wounds when they bother her, and it's like, I'm gonna salve this up real good. And I get another 9 back from the healer feat.
You stand belabored, using your cane and using the splint to slowly make your way through these tunnels. Nylus. Fully bowing before this inanimate skull. The skeletons that surround you, they too bow, not to you, but to the skull. And you hear,
Never insult me with that tardy excuse book again.
he's referring to where you've kept it on a chain with this skin, blood amalgamation of a spell book.
You're talking about this one, the red testimonium? It's not to your liking, then.
It's weak. Like you. You looked at me with honor.
Fine, I can be respectful. I'll keep you away from that book. I can be understandful. But if I'm to be fearing you, should I not at least know more than your name and just a peek of the knowledge that you've shared with me in a dream before? Who are you really? I heard rumors about a soul render.
Roll persuasion, DC of 22.
You are exhausted too, right?
Forgot about that.
I'm sorry.
For a total of 5.
You will hear me on your own volition.
And the skull and its weight dissipates. It becomes light again as it sits before you. The skeletons, they rot into the ground, the bone turning to dust.
Nylus tries to catch the bones before they fully escape as he quickly says to the skull, "I'll deal with you later." And then he turns it around and aims it towards the bones as they're trying to rot. And he will try to interrupt that rotting and command those bones for himself as he will try to cast Animate Dead.
The bone dust, it begins to swirl in this little tornado in place. It rises up as it obscures this space before you, and as the dust dissipates into the air, you see a skeleton, a miner, under your command.
You bowed to this. Now you bow to me.
Immediately it drops to its knees. It bows before you, taking its skeletal head and placing it on the ground in the dirt before your feet. Tell me what Nylus is doing, please.
Nylus will stow away Mordecai, skull carefully on the other side of the red testimonium, keeping them away respectfully. And he takes a couple of moments in order to breathe, in order to catch off some of the clay, and for about a good 10 Mississippi so, he's just going to shut up. Try not to think. Listen. Any difference in movement, any rumbling in the distance, any future something.
Please roll perception.
For a total of 11.
You can hear that there is a clatter of rocks in the distance. They echo through these tunnels. It's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from, but at least you know a general direction if you'd like to follow that noise.
You skeleton. And from his satchel, he will give him a candle. And with that candle, he snaps his finger, and with a wave of his hand, with using the Control Flames cantrip, it will double the size of the flame and changing its color to, let's say, green. And to have this very large natural flame in order to light everything for a bright light.
The skeleton leads the way before you, almost anticipating where you want it to go, holding this light and illuminating the cave. As you head in that direction, and Dr. Glass, as you approach one of the crossroads, you see Esper running in your direction as the shadow, it dissipates, having rejoined you with the doctor.
Quick question, does anybody else see the shadow at that point?
No.
You found me once again.
You alright? You don't look so alright.
I'm not so alright, but better than I should be.
Okay.
Have you seen me? Or anything?
Before now?
How recently?
If you don't know what I'm talking about, then the answer is probably no.
Well, the thing that makes it confusing is we did see a lot of skeletons come back to life. But I know you're not one of them. It's just, we've seen some things.
I'm flattered, honestly, that you feel you'd know my skeleton instantly. I do have a good bone structure, if I do say so myself.
Well, none of them were limping.
Is that offensive? I don't know if that's offensive.
Dr. Glass stares and then giggles. And just goes into a fit of giggles.
Just crouching behind Esper, just going like, I'm glad you said it and I did it. I was going to make an old joke, so don't worry about it.
I should have thought it through. Do you know where Nylus is?
I'm a bit worried about where Nylus is. Did your skeletons suddenly just conveniently give up?
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, I think we scared him off.
I hope so. That would be lovely if that's why we won.
It was like they came up and they came to attack and then they just fell back down.
It certainly wasn't anything I did. Now that I think about it, it is perfectly natural and good and best case scenario for a holy man who follows the light to dispel unholy creatures such as skeletons, so I won't borrow trouble. I'll worry later.
Finding him is what we need to do.
Indeed.
I think for once I see where you're going. Shelving that. Nylus?
Nylus, you hear a call in the distance. First, before you hear it, you could swear that these tunnels, they breathe. In the distance, you can see as they shift and morph. Maybe it's just your perception of it. That sound comes directly from where you were walking, though. Coincidentally, maybe. And you hear Esper.
Stop moving. Miraculium ars. Esther! He will shout out with a thaumaturgy, 3 times booming the loudness of his voice.
Clearly audible.
Because it was so loud, can we tell which tunnel it originated from?
With certainty. You hear the voice booming, and as you turn 1 or 2 corners, you see in the distance Nylus von Stonen with 1 skeleton bearing a bright green candle walking before him.
Snap and point at the skeleton. How come yours didn't? Why is yours still standing?
Greetings, friends. Oh, this is Boris.
Boris?
Why is Boris still up?
He's mine.
Trevor, yes, you please say something first.
I weren't gonna say more than but take a look. Maybe he's cool?
Well, of course, if he's mine. You found other skeletons.
Yes, Nels, other skeletons found us.
Esper's going to approach the skeleton, waving her hand in front of it.
It stares blank into the distance. It's not until Nylus acknowledges your wave that the skeleton even considers looking.
Nylus is gonna mentally command to do a boo.
Immediately fell back on our ass.
Oh, that's it. You asked for it.
No, wait. That was me, Esther. That was me. Look. He can jump up and down whenever I tell him to. That was hilarious.
Dr. Glass, are we still on shelving mode?
Dr. Glass is monologuing to herself. As a woman of science, there's nothing is inherently good or bad until harm is demonstrated, and life and death are, and skeletons and cadavers are. So this is, and on the other hand,
Surely necromancy is not.
it is natural to have a strong visceral emotional reaction to the perhaps what we might call the uncanny, but that does not inherently mean that kill it with fire. No, you can't. It's dead.
Don't harm Boris.
What? Sorry?
Can Boris let us out of here, or can we need to get out of here is what I'm getting at.
Do you guys want to get out of here or save our friends?
We have to get to Vanda and Abigail and Bandit.
Bones belong on the inside.
Are you all right?
I agree, but I think we're still at shelving.
Wait a minute. So we just had a shared epiphany of a vision of someone knocking a lost soul into a magical void cane. And then this is the crazy part.
That used to be a living person.
Honestly, I'm just happy that I seem to be taking this better than Dr. Glass is.
Look, I never liked anatomy class. This is maybe why I ended up a doctor of the mind. We have to work with, the skeletons we use in medical school are actual human skeletons, and we're not supposed to ask too many questions about where they come from. They're very expensive.
Of course.
And this one's moving.
No.
And
Call it like it's a magic puppet one.
I fucking hate puppets, Esper.
Nylus is gonna mentally command him to move him around like a puppet with the raised hands. Still trying to hold the candle.
Trevor, make him go.
I hit Nylus with my cane. May I attack Nylus with my cane with disadvantage?
He takes a single step backwards at half speed and he outreaches.
Okay.
We can just assume I fail because of 3 levels of exhaustion.
I see Dr. Glass kind of whipping her cane in the air.
You were seeing Dr. Glass with 3 levels of exhaustion and Boris.
If it helps you with your comprehension, I'm only able to hold my power over 1 at the moment.
At the moment?
Esper is kind of giving Trevor's hand a bit of a tug back towards, the further into the tunnels. Guys, we got other people we have to get to. Shelf.
Oh, yes. Compartmentalizing, yes, is a very important coping mechanism.
I don't know that word. Shelving sounds better. We're going.
Nylus will follow, but every once in a while following, he will command Boris in order to make markings on the wall from an arrow to leave a trail behind.
Okay, you do so. And as you traverse these tunnels, now rejoined, going slower because Dr. Glass is not moving very quickly right now. Eventually, I think you'd see Dr. Glass stop in her tracks because in the distance, she is seeing something. As Dr. Glass, you see standing at the end of one of these corridors. You, cane in hand, looking back, ephemeral.
Doc?
So, before I do anything, can you tell me my other self's attitude, demeanor, pose? What do I see precisely in this? This is the uncanny.
I suppose you've changed a lot over time. And this version of you stands more confidently. You see a gas mask, or a mask for the salt wastes made out of an old can of beans and charcoal hanging by her hip. You see, she looks ever the more confident and inquisitive, but this is none other than the same Dr. Glass that fell. The part that's been missing.
And she... The flesh and blood Dr. Glass says under her breath, almost like a catechism, then in a prayer, she says, "It is only rarely that a psychoanalyst feels impelled to investigate the subject of aesthetics, even when aesthetics is understood to mean not merely the theory of beauty, but the theory of the qualities of feeling." And that's just for her, and then everyone can see what she sees. And she accepts into her own body, I don't mean in a literal sense, but she just accepts this feeling of horror to see, to run into herself under any circumstances. And then I suppose she tries to insight herself. She says, she kind of runs a logic problem. Forget figuring out whether this is you. Assuming that it is you, why are you doing this? Why is this you attacking us? And what does it have to do with Nylus and Mordecai, if anything? Just why? And I think psychically that is the message that goes out. Why?
You see, as this ephemeral version of you almost seems like a shadow of her former self. She walks up to the wall as if she has a piece of chalk in her hand, mimes the copying of notes. She can't help but look back at you occasionally, whereas the minor, they seemed lost. But Dr. Glass, she's never truly lost. She's been told from a young age that she has a star and she should always look towards it. And through these sporadic moments of miming, these gestures of life, she keeps glancing in your direction, almost discomforted.
Unheimlich. Yes. It is uncomfortable. So it feels like she's not a full entity, like she's an echo.
Yes. A piece that's missing. Just a piece.
And Dr. Glass is very afraid to do the one thing that it occurs to her to do. That version of her wouldn't know about because she can't do it yet. And she's, without looking away, she sticks out her hand to Esper, just to hold.
Esper's going to reach up using peripheral vision to just reach back and take the hand. And you shared the vision.
Yes, everyone can see what I'm seeing.
The hand that's party to 100 articles that you've read about Esper grabs yours.
Can you give me a moment, please? Are you lost? Do you need help?
At the sound of being called lost, I don't think Dr. Glass ever wants to be considered lost. She wouldn't ever be considered lost. She walks confidently towards you, looking past you, putting on a show.
No. Stay. Please.
She walks, but then she stops. Confused, she looks to the left and the right. What am I doing here? She might say. You don't hear anything, that is.
Because of what happened earlier before we got down into this mine shaft, does Esper have any idea, or any feeling even, that this might be the piece that Isadora lost?
Please roll insight.
Not too bad for Esper, that's a 12.
You sense an echo of radiance of that missing piece.
I see. I know that you're proud, and you have every right to be. But isn't it lonely? Wouldn't it be better if you had people around you who could help with you? People to rely on, to lean on. People to call friends and make you feel whole again. Wouldn't it be good to be whole?
She carries with her all of her past experiences, all of the people who have overlooked her and wronged her, a fierce independence that has carried her to the highest echelons of success in a field that probably would have never had her. But still, the analytical posture that is this piece of Dr. Glass takes its final steps towards you.
Esper has one hand holding mostly whole Isadora. They have a free hand. They're going to reach it out to this other part.
And I think the living Dr. Glass suddenly realizes that's part of what's missing. That at first she wants to say, "Oh, Esper, that's not going to work. She thinks life is lonely and people won't help her anyway." And then she realizes, no, wait. That me, the one who walked out of the bunker, didn't feel that way. The me that when I walked into that factory with all of these people in Bender, I had connections. I did rely on and trust the people around me, and Hypatia and people in the bunker. That's what the problem has been. That's part of what died and has been missing.
This Dr. Glass, she steps forward and takes her cane, and she places the base of it in the same exact spot that the real Dr. Glass holds hers, and she pushes it forward as the two merge into one. And you feel, Esper, a coldness in your hand. You don't feel the tactileness, but you feel a cold breeze envelop your hand as it's taken. As in this moment, Dr. Glass, you know there's one way you can interact with souls.
Yeah.
And that's what was scary to her. Because she's not sure what that will do. But she can end the wandering. She can send it where it belongs.
Dr. Glass, what do you do when faced with a piece of you as it waits for your decision?
It's tricky because as a very practical person, she wants to say, you know, it hasn't been much of a problem to be missing a piece. There haven't really been negative effects. But she's a person who fixes things and heals things and puts them back together. And wants the bones to be inside the body. Does not like the uncanny. And she whispers to Esper, to everyone, if this takes me away, it's because I'm going where I need to be. And she gives Esper's hand a squeeze, and she sucks the missing piece of her soul into the cane and sends it home.
You see this version of Dr. Glass look down at the cane. Whereas the miner presented this amazement, this awe, you can see the analytical mind on her. Curiously, she steps forward and ducks her head as she steps into this place, and in this moment, having done this before, Esper, if you like, you can, with the help of Trevor and Nylus and Dr. Glass, follow it.
I'm scared. But I would like to make sure this piece gets to where it needs to go. Could you help me do it again?
Being brave is not about not feeling any angst. It's about feeling it, that fear, and still doing it anyway. Of course we would help you, dear.
I would know more than anyone that missing a part of you can be rough. And sometimes you're lucky enough that the piece that's missing ain't always the good piece of you. But I still think that a person needs to be more than what they do. You're a human being, not a human doing. So, if I'm gonna be with you, if I'm gonna be your man still, I'd prefer it to be all of you.
Reaching out for this other, very gently, Esper's fingers are going to slip around its wrist and hold it quite softly, tethering to it, closing Esper's eyes, and remembering the way that they slipped into a space of the Nexus just earlier in the day.
You float into this space, holding on to the wrist of this other glass. You see as she walks in a similar direction, floating beside you is a shadow. And it holds its hand out, asking you to follow. But to do so, you would have to let go of the rope that protects you from falling in.
Can I still feel everybody with me regardless? Is it not just a matter of the rope to feel their presence?
The rope is their anchor, the ability for them to pull you out. But their presence in the shared experience, just like last time, as you feel and see through Esper's eyes will remain. For now.
In this space, can everybody else see the shadow?
They can.
Shaky hand on that sort of rope slowly leaves it and reaches out. I'm trying. Please don't leave me to get lost here. And she's taking the shadow's hand, while also maintaining connection with the piece of Dr. Glass.
The rope, it gently unravels from your waist as you float out into this fathomless, endless void. And it pulls you. It pulls you in the same direction that you see this other Dr. Glass is walking. A door starts to come to vision. You're realizing you're starting to see what she is seeing, and that shadow is going to pull you through the door.
Esper gave it their trust. And as much as they start to quake in this weightless space, as much as their breath hitches and they seem to hold it and they don't know what's going to happen, and they are terrified right now. The trust was given, and it has not shaken yet.
A nightjar, they're burdened with the curse of never getting to see where they ferry the souls to. But Esper is not a nightjar. And you float through this doorway into a warm, quaint little bedroom. Frost, condensation on the windows, winter, and a small, child-sized bed. You see, it has to be none other than this very young Dr. Glass, who's tucked in beneath the blankets, cozy, and waiting, looking at the door to the bedroom pensively.
Well, hi there.
She pays you no mind. And the door opens, and you see a woman enter. Dr. Glass would know this as her Aunt Amalia. She steps up to the bed and sits on the edge. And Asteria, you can, if you're feeling up to it, play this younger version of Dr. Glass. Well now, child. You've been waiting for me for far too long. You haven't gotten any rest. Is it going to be every night like this?
I just can't. My mind is. There's just so much to think about.
There is, isn't there? Remember the story I told you about the night jars?
Of course.
This is going to be the last time I tell you a story, Dora.
Why?
I have to go. Your mother won't have me anymore.
No, that's not true. Why not? Is it because of me? She got so mad when I told her. It's my fault. You told me not to tell her about how we talk, and I accidentally said something.
It's not your fault. And we will talk again. One day we'll talk as often as you want. We'll talk every night and every day if that's what you prefer. But that's not today. Today is my last story for you. Once upon a time, there was a night jar that would ferry souls to where they belong. It was terribly difficult work. Day and night, another soul going to the other side. Well, one day, curiosity overtook them. They had to know what's there and why does everybody want to go to that place. Can you believe that, Dora?
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I guess. I like to know things. I know I ask a lot of questions.
And never stop asking questions, Dora. That's a part of you that I love. But you should know, a night jar, one day, they will see the other side. But that day is not until they're ready. Are you ready now, Dora?
No. And I'm not ready for you to be ready. Is that why you're going?
Dora, never forget that you, she taps you on the nose, are a little night jar. And when you see the other side, will be the day that you're ready. You got that? Should I bring you more tea?
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Please don't leave me alone.
Whether you know it or not, I'll always be with you. And she steps out of the door, giving you a wink as she goes to get you more tea. And Esper, this moment before you, you know that everybody is with you right now. The shadow holding your hand. Are you doing anything or saying anything?
Once Amalia is absent, Esper is going to move closer. If they're able to, they will climb their way up onto that bed to get into this child's ear. Not because she thinks she can be heard, but doing it whether they can or not. She's right. You're going to grow up one day. And you're going to know things that other people will never be able to understand because they aren't going to listen to you.
No one listens to me. She's the only one. I'm so scared without her. Something's wrong with me.
No. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with being special.
Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. Those words, they bear power. It grows in this void. It reverberates. It vibrates the window in the windowsill. But it's not scary. But you feel something forming. Nothing is wrong with you. You feel it getting larger and its power increasing until you're not in this room anymore, and this young Dr. Glass, she fades into the fathomless void. You just see this power growing in a ball. It enraptures between itself. It folds inward. Infinity, and it begins moving, casting its way through this darkness. It's purple and black light glowing as the shadow holds your hand, as you see it traveling through this cosmos of emptiness, and eventually you see it passing a planet and floating into the sky and plummeting across the landscape until it impacts in very familiar woods as the shadow holding your hand and bringing you back will end the session there.